Hello, beauties. Welcome to Moms Unboxed, a podcast where I unbox with you the how-tos, tips, and tricks to empower women to upgrade relationships, intimacy, and parenting. I'm your host, Melanie Caroline, a multi-dimensional woman, life coach, lover, and mom who's made a lot of fucking mistakes. If you want to live a sensual and liberated life, you've come to the right space. Don't forget to follow Moms Unboxed because you don't want to miss an episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Moms Unboxed. I'm happy you're here with me. What are we unboxing this week? We are talking about moving forward from relationships and giving yourself permission to be happy. Because don't we all deserve that in life, is to be happy regardless of what situations or circumstances we've come from? We deserve everything that we have the opportunity to experience here on earth. Like, there's just so many beautiful things that we get to experience, including love. And even though a relationship has ended, that doesn't mean that we cannot find happiness again. And whether or not you are choosing to be single and be free and girl living it up, or you have found love again and you think maybe it's too soon to move on a relationship, or there's still ties between you and your ex-partner that you need to have dealt with, or maybe there's something within yourself, maybe there's some underlying shame or guilt for wanting to move on in a relationship. And so we're going to discuss steps that you can take to move forward in a relationship, to find and be accepting of love and happiness. In my own experience, I have been separated from my husband for nearly 2 years and have been with Donnie for 4 years because we were in an E&M relationship. And so transitioning from Josh being my nesting partner for the last, 11 years to now Donnie being my nesting partner, it's been a hard transition in allowing myself to be happy in this relationship and fully expressing that love through my environment, through our physical touch, through just opening my heart up. And part of that is because there's still ties to Josh and I. Like, we're not divorced yet. We haven't really figured out the child support. We have figured out our schedule. So there's just these remaining things that need to be dealt with before I can fully feel like, okay, I can let go, I can release and move forward and really focus on being happy with Donnie and I. There was some time there where I don't even post pictures of Donnie and I very much. There's this shame there between my relationship with Josh and moving from Josh's house to Donnie's house in a matter of a night. But that was our lifestyle. That was what opportunity presented itself. I was staying in both homes, but I didn't give myself permission to fully embrace that experience because, I was going through divorce, and just because I had a partner didn't make that pain and hurt and heartbreak any less for my marriage. It destroyed me. My heart shattered into a million pieces. And I spent the year literally crying and taking a lot of bathtubs and drinking wine. I did that multiple times a day because I just needed to allow myself to release those emotions and fully experience them as they were. And I oftentimes got asked, how long did it take before you stopped crying? And it's not really about keeping track of the time and how long something takes. It's you wake up one morning and at the end of the day, you realize you didn't cry. And then there was another day where you didn't cry. And then I was going, 5 days and then a month. And then, I might have cried and cried and cried for a week. And then I'd go 2 months. You just realize over time, you just start healing and you start feeling more at peace. Though there might be peace and you're not grieving the relationship in that way, there's still going to be areas in which you find it difficult to really move on, to really experience joy again and happiness, and being able to embrace those things is so important, and it's such a piece of the healing process. There might be times where you're like, yes, I'm fully embracing joy and I'm allowing myself to be happy. And there's still going to be days that maybe you go to a certain restaurant, you hear a certain song, and it reminds you of the marriage or the relationship that you had. And you're going to have a bad moment. You're going to experience that sadness. That's okay. It is part of being human. And feeling those sensations and emotions amplifies the joy and the happiness. It's so important through this process that you continue to have self-love and compassion through the healing. You don't want to enter a relationship when you're still grieving heavily. And it's okay to heal with someone, but it's not okay to like bleed on someone. So that means taking your anger out on them, taking your hurt, frustration, sadness, heartbreak out on this partner that you have or this new person that you've met, because you haven't healed and actually processed your divorce. And it's okay to have friends that are supportive, and I think we should lean on those people more. And you should think about ways you define your healing. What does it look like for you to be able to be ready to have another relationship, to go on a date, to play, to laugh, to have fun? What does that look like for you to be in that space? Because when I was having my wine in my bath, I was not in a space to really even think about the next phases of my partnership with Donnie. Just like you might not be ready to go on dates when you find yourself eating that ice cream, Netflixing and binging and going through your own healing. So you have to determine for yourself, what does that look like? And if you are in a state where you're like, no, I am in a partnership, I've met someone, I really like them, but I'm still struggling to release that old identity that I used to have, being a wife, having a family, being with my husband, like that's totally understandable that you would have difficulty going through that. That was such a huge chunk of your life that now you're releasing. And that takes time, and you have to allow that process to happen. Now, my first recommendation for moving forward is you having that realization. That's the first step. Is you have to have the realization that you are not allowing yourself to move forward, that there's still something holding you back, that you are not giving yourself permission to be happy in this new partnership, or even if you're not in a partnership, you not allowing yourself to be happy in your new place, in this new lifestyle that you're living. Once you recognize that, you come to that realization, the next step is just acknowledgement. You're just acknowledging that that's there. What are the feelings that you're having around not opening your heart, not staying curious towards this new partnership or this new person you've met or this new lifestyle that you're living? What is there for you? Understanding why you're not permitting yourself happiness. Is it that you're feeling guilty? Is it that you are scared to be out in the dating world? Maybe you're enjoying the fact that you don't have your kids full time and you're allotted this new time to rediscover yourself. You want to acknowledge these things that arise for you. And that's number 3, is the assessment. Asking yourself, is there any guilt around you wanting to go on dates? Is there any shame around maybe you found a relationship sooner than you thought and you gave your ex a really hard time and now you're feeling shame because you're doing the same thing? Is there a feeling that you have to stay guarded? Is there something around that? Is it that you actually are enjoying living on your own? That you don't have a ton of dishes to do every single day and you don't have any additional laundry. Maybe you're enjoying the fact that you are separated. And that's fucking okay. Give yourself permission to be happy. It's okay to acknowledge, like, yes, I'm actually enjoying this. There's no shame in that. We're supposed to be enjoying life, regardless of the circumstances, whether you're married, single, polyamory, E&M, whatever it might be. Being happy, having joy, experiencing love. Like, yes, please. I want that for every single person in this world. When you go through the assessment, you really want to contemplate. Sit down with your journal. ask yourself these questions and continue digging. What does that mean to me when I am preventing my own happiness? And in my relationship, I saw it in my environment. I wasn't putting pictures up of he and I. I don't have family photos up. I wasn't decorating any of the rooms. I literally just painted walls and then left them a blank canvas because I didn't know how to make the space mine. I wasn't giving myself permission to fully embrace his permission for me to make it my own, to put my own tastes into it and my own design. And I wasn't allowing myself to do that. So then I started wanting to create my own space and get my own apartment. Fuck, rent is so expensive in Washington State. Like, I don't know how anybody single is affording it here. Like, literally don't. So I wanted to distance myself even further. And I was like, dead set, I need to get my own apartment so I can decorate how I want, so I can have my own space. And he's like, I've been asking you to create this space and make it yours, but you're not doing that. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. That was one way I was preventing my own growth and allowing myself to open my heart. Once I started decorating the bedroom and I put these little cool LED lights around the bed frame, it looks fucking amazing. Like, it's such a vibe. And when I started doing that, it's like, okay, wow, okay. I can move on from this relationship, from this marriage that I've been in. So even the littlest things that you could be doing, maybe it's adding a little touch to the bathroom, or adding a photo that you like to a wall, or putting up a picture of you and your new partner. And that leads me to step number 4. Create the action steps that you need to take in order to give yourself permission to be happy. I'm going to toot my horn again. Everyone deserves to be happy. Everyone deserves to experience joy. And you deserve your desires. Go out and get them. If you are not happy in the situation or relationship that you're in, or you're preventing your own happiness, girl, stop. Please, 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 please. And I understand that it's easier said than done. Like, you have to work through guilt. You might have to work through shame and regret. And that takes healing. That takes time. And you have to choose how you are going to move through that guilt and shame, whether it's through meditation, somatic work, whether it's you letting that anger out in such a healthy way, which I love doing, by the way. Boxing, screaming at a pillow, or screaming on a bridge, like moving your body, just like getting it, putting on some angry music or whatever. And just allowing those emotions to come out of you. So many times we want to repress our emotions, and we bottle them up in our body, and we wonder why we're having anxiety. We're wondering why we have depression. We're wondering why we're freaking out and we're reacting and we're not healthy and we're not taking care of ourselves, because we're storing so much trauma in our body, when really we need to be letting that out, letting it out in some way. Do some self-care, take your baths, journal, heal, cry, scream, Reiki sessions, energy healing, whatever it is you have to do. Create a plan, create action steps. How am I going to move through this moment? How am I going to invite happiness and joy into my life? Give yourself permission to move forward, fall in love, and say I love you, and fucking embrace yourself through the process. If you have children, you have to know that this process is going to affect your children too. So the more you can work on yourself and move through this journey, the happier your kids will be. Because your kids are happy when their moms are happy, when their parents are happy, when there's no anger or strife going on. And that takes communicating and expressing yourself and not blaming the other person, not shaming the other person for the situation. It's about being vulnerable and moving forward and allowing yourself to be happy. A lot of times we're not willing to be vulnerable. We're not willing to take risks because, of course, we just went through, I, for example, just went through a 9-year marriage, was together for 11. And now I'm supposed to be vulnerable and fall in love again and be okay with it and put my heart on a chopping block. Well, like, yeah, I'm never going to open my heart if that's the way I feel, right? So you have to be willing to have a mind shift. Invite the love in, invite the joy and happiness in, and think, you know what? I'm going to be okay regardless. I'm going to be okay if this person breaks my heart. You know what? Because I just went through it. I'm okay, found love, moving forward in my life. I'm, decorating my own apartment. I'm meeting people. I'm going on dates. I'm okay. If I meet someone that's worthwhile to open my heart up to, then I'll do that. I'll make a decision to say yes. Or you make a decision to say no, and that's okay too. You don't have to be ready to move on in a relationship because you meet someone. Take your time. You don't have to rush to the next phase. You don't have to rush to get a promise ring or to get engaged, rush to get married or move in together or have kids. Enjoy the process. And if you already have kids and you're stepping into a relationship with someone else, that's a whole other level of love you're allowing and inviting into your heart. And that's a big decision. Adding kids, it adds to more logistics and more communication, understanding of where your parenting styles align and where they need to be bridged. That takes a lot of work and effort, and you want to make sure that you're ready for that. Donnie had 2 kids. I had 3 kids. I wasn't always ready for that. I didn't know what to do with a teenager. My babies are younger. I struggled through that transition. So I have to allow myself to accept what they're willing to provide me, whether it's one sentence, a one word hello. Like, I can't expect myself to come into a relationship with them having just open hearts. That expectation leads to suffering. We have to allow people to go through their own process, and allowing people to go through their own process, we love them. We love ourselves. We have compassion for them and for ourselves. But the minute we come in there wanting to strike an iron, be like, nah, accept me, open your heart. We can't expect that if we're not willing to do it too. I kind of got off on a tangent there because, bringing kids in the situation is always a little bit more complicated if you are moving forward in a relationship. Be ready. This is going to be a beautiful experience. If you're out there and you're like, I don't want love, I don't want marriage, none of that. That's okay. That is totally okay. Get to know yourself, regardless of whether or not you're getting into a relationship or not after your ex. Like, you need to get in a relationship with yourself. That is my number one. I'm working on getting to know myself and being comfortable with being alone. I'm getting comfortable with the dynamics and the space and the environment. And I am a person that likes consistency and routine. And when things are constantly shifting, it adds layers to my stress. And so it's just always better to allow yourself to flow through a transition at a slow, steady pace that is comfortable for you. You have to be there for you first and foremost, and loving yourself through this and releasing anything that needs to be released so that you can open your heart again. Okay, ladies, I love this conversation. I know it's not like one of those desire conversations that we had a few weeks ago. And if you have not listened to that episode, I suggest you go back because moms want to be desired too. So this was my conversation with you about just moving forward and on from relationships and giving yourself permission to be happy and make a choice. Like, recognize when you haven't allowed yourself to be happy. Once you have that realization, it's a lot easier to move through it, because once you've identified it, you're like, oh shit, that's a problem I don't want to have anymore. I want to be happy. I want to allow joy in my life. And so then you start acknowledging it. Right? You acknowledge where you're not allowing yourself to be happy. You understand where you're not allowing happiness to seep through, whether it's shame or guilt you're holding on to, or maybe you still have ties with your ex. You haven't got divorced yet. You still haven't done child support yet. They're still going through all the court bullshit. Or maybe you're feeling guilt because you are enjoying the dating scene. Like, we don't need to feel guilty for those things. And so once you acknowledge the things, acknowledge the areas and little sticky energies that need to be unstuck and filtered out, you want to assess, right? Assess where all that is. Where is it that you can let go and release and remove yourself from the areas in which you're not allowing yourself to be happy in that relationship? Where are you avoiding? Where is the guilt lying within yourself, and where is it coming from? Why are you feeling shame for who you are? If you are feeling shame for actually being happy, why are you doing that? Why don't you feel you deserve to be happy? So you want to do an assessment. And I suggest you do this by sitting down and you meditate and you journal and you really start reflecting and contemplating on where all that is in your body, in your mind, in your soul. And then what action steps do you need to take in order to release that so you can embody and invite joy and happiness into your heart. I want to invite you to do these steps. Once you realize, you can acknowledge, you can assess why you're not able to open your heart and allow love in, and then you create action steps. What little things can you do to really release and embrace what you deserve, what you want truly, which is to be able to find love again, be happy, accept joy into your heart. If you are interested in learning more about meditation and mindfulness, I have a free PDF for you in the description. You don't want to miss it. It is bomb. I really like it. I spent a lot of time on it. And I know it's going to be good for you. All right, mamas, thank you so much for joining me this week on another episode of Moms Unboxed. And don't forget to live a liberated, sensual, and unboxed life. Until the next time, sunshine. Thank you again for joining me for another episode of Moms Unboxed. If you have a topic or relationship question, connect with me at I am Melanie Caroline. And don't forget to follow Moms Unboxed. May you live a liberated, sensual, and unboxed life. I'll be chatting with you next Wednesday for another episode. Until the next time, sunshine.